Let's rewind to the Ice Age, when glaciers locked up much of the world's water and sea levels dropped. A land bridge, Beringia, emerged, connecting Asia to Alaska. Groups of hunter-gatherers followed herds of mammoths and other big game across this bridge, not seeking a new world but simply chasing dinner. This migration wasn't a sprint, it took thousands of years, with families moving a little farther each generation. They adapted to new environments, from icy tundra to forests and plains, learning to survive wherever they went. These first Americans didn't stop in Alaska. They spread south and east, exploring and settling across the continent. Every new landscape brought new challenges. What to eat, how to build shelter, how to thrive. Over time, they became the first explorers of the Americas, laying the foundation for countless cultures to come. Their journey was the ultimate test of human adaptability and determination. From these early migrations, a stunning diversity of cultures would eventually bloom. The Americas became home to people who learned to live everywhere from the Arctic to the Amazon. This was the beginning of a story that would shape the continent for millennia. The land shaped the people, and the people shaped the land. These were the original pioneers, making homes in places no human had ever been. Their legacy is the incredible variety of native cultures that would follow. The story of the Americas starts with this epic journey. It's a tale of survival, adaptation, and the relentless human spirit. And it all began with a land bridge and a need for food. That's how everyone got here. Once people arrived, they didn't just keep wandering forever. As they spread out, they settled in places with good resources. Forests, plains, deserts, coasts. Each environment demanded new ways of living. In the Northeast, people became skilled hunters and farmers, building longhouses and growing the Three Sisters: corn, beans, and squash. On the Great Plains, life was mobile. Tipis and bison hunts defined their culture. The Pacific Northwest offered abundant fish and forests, leading to permanent villages and stunning art like totem poles. In the Southwest, people built adobe pueblos and engineered irrigation to farm in the desert. Out of these adaptations, hundreds of distinct tribes and nations emerged. Each developed its own language, beliefs, and social systems. There was no single native identity, just a mosaic of cultures shaped by the land. They traded, formed alliances, and sometimes fought, building complex societies long before outsiders arrived. These weren't just people living in nature, they were shaping it, managing it, and building civilizations. Their diversity was their strength. The continent became a tapestry of nations, each with its own story. This was the birth of Native America as a world of nations, not just nomads. The stage was set for everything that followed. Let's spotlight a few major native nations. The Iroquois Confederacy in the Northeast was a league of nations with a constitution, the Great Law of Peace, that inspired ideas in the U.S. Constitution. They lived in communal longhouses and were political innovators. On the Great Plains, tribes like the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Comanche became legendary horse riders, following bison herds and building a nomadic, sustainable way of life. The bison provided food, shelter, and tools, central to their culture and spirituality. In the Southwest, Pueblo peoples like the Hopi and Zuni mastered desert farming and built multi-story adobe villages, some still inhabited today. Their lives revolved around community, agriculture, and ceremonies that endure to this day. In the Southeast, nations like the Cherokee, Choctaw, and Creek built large towns with plazas, complex governments, and rich traditions. The Cherokee even developed their own written language, publishing newspapers and books. These societies were sophisticated with deep political and cultural roots. Each tribe was a unique world, shaped by its environment and history. Their achievements challenged stereotypes of simplicity or primitiveness. Native America was a continent of nations, each with its own legacy. Their stories are as varied as the land itself. These cultures set the stage for the continent's future. They were innovators, builders, and keepers of tradition. Their influence is still felt today. For thousands of years, native nations thrived, until 1492, when Columbus landed in the Caribbean. He called the people Indians, a mistake that stuck. This marked the start of a massive, often tragic culture clash. Early encounters brought trade, furs for metal tools, guns, and cloth, changing native economies and daily life. But Europeans also brought deadly diseases, like smallpox and measles. Native people had no immunity, entire villages were wiped out. Some estimates say up to 90% of the native population died within a century. It was a demographic catastrophe, not a war, a biological apocalypse. Societies were shattered, knowledge lost, and survivors left in crisis. On top of this, Europeans saw land as property, to buy and sell. For native peoples, land was sacred, a relative, not a commodity. This fundamental difference fueled endless conflict. The arrival of Europeans changed everything, often with devastating consequences. The story of America would never be the same. Understanding this moment is key to everything that followed. After first contact, European powers, and later the US, wanted land. Treaties were signed, often under pressure or threat, between sovereign native nations and colonial governments. Early treaties were sometimes respected, but as settlers pushed west, the power balance shifted. Treaties became tools for taking land, with promises rarely kept. Language barriers and different views of land ownership led to confusion and exploitation. Broken treaties sparked wars, like the Sioux Wars, as tribes fought to defend their homes. The most brutal policy was forced removal. In the 1830s, the Indian Removal Act led to the Trail of Tears. Thousands of Cherokee, Choctaw, Creek, and others marched west, many dying along the way. It was state-sponsored ethnic cleansing. These injustices left scars that still affect native communities. The cycle of broken promises defined U.S. native relations for generations. The struggle for land and sovereignty became a central part of native history. By the late 1800s, most native tribes were confined to reservations, often on poor land. The government tried to erase native cultures through forced assimilation and boarding schools. Children were taken from families, forbidden to speak their languages, and punished for practicing traditions. The trauma was deep, but culture proved resilient. People found ways to keep traditions alive. Secret ceremonies, whispered stories, art woven with meaning. Adaptation became survival. The Navajo, for example, turned sheep herding into a new tradition, creating world-famous rugs. Native people learned to navigate the new world, becoming activists, lawyers, and leaders. They used the tools of the dominant society to fight for rights and protect their heritage. This wasn't assimilation, it was creative resistance. Native resilience turned survival into a new kind of strength. Today, Native Americans are still here. Over 570 federally recognized tribes in the U.S. alone. Modern Native life is a blend of ancient tradition and contemporary innovation. Challenges remain: poverty, health, education, rooted in centuries of broken promises. But there's also a powerful movement of cultural revival. Tribes run businesses, manage their own affairs, and build futures on their own terms. Young people are learning ancestral languages, reviving ceremonies, and celebrating identity at powwows. Native artists, musicians, and writers are telling their own stories and challenging stereotypes. Native history is American history, inseparable and essential. These cultures offer lessons in resilience, sustainability, and respect for the land. Recognizing their story is about respect and understanding. Native people are not relics, they are vibrant, vital communities shaping the present and future. Their story is still being written, and it matters to all of us.